Hi everyone, this is Nikki of Nikki Hearts Cards here today to go over this fun Pinkfresh Studios Slimline set. This flower is a chrysanthemum, which I'm going to show you some pictures of in a few minutes in real life so you can see how we're going to color this flower. One thing that I really like about the die set is that it comes with dies that cut out the large sentiments in this set. So never stop, and you got this. You can cut them out and you can stamp them, which is really fun. So I think that really adds a lot to this set. This has got lots of different sentiments on it. I'm going to show you quickly what they are. I think this is great for encouraging cards. My favorite is "You Were Born to Be Awesome," and that's what I'm going to use on my card today. I love "Start the Day with a Smile." There's one that says "You Make My Heart Smile." Just great things that somebody would really love to have in their mail. It would definitely be some happy mail. So I'm going to pop to the picture of a chrysanthemum. Notice how the outside edges of the petals are lighter than the inside edges. So that's how we're going to color this stamp. Now, to stamp a large stamp like this, I feel like it's easier if you have a larger Misty. So I've got the Memory Misty, which is a 12 by 12, and I'm going to use that to do my stamping. That way I can keep my paper at a slimline size and not be putting any creases in the paper. A quick little tip: when you're using a brand new stamp, you definitely want to make sure you rub your hands or an eraser or something all over where the stamping area is. It just helps it pick up ink better, and it's almost like it has a little film or something over it. So a lot of times I take an eraser and I rub it across the whole area just to make sure that I've gotten all of it just makes it stamp better. It removes whatever little film there is right here. So remember to do that when working with a brand new stamp. I'm going to use the Lawn Fawn Jet Black as my ink to Copic color with. So this one, I usually stamp this 2 or 3 times. I just really like the black part of my flower to be very dark. So I do that, and I'm stamping it on Copic friendly paper. Now, how I decide which Copic I like to use is I take a scrap piece of the paper and I put all the colors out that I have and look at my options for colors. So we're going to start with RV10. RV10 is the lightest of the colors that I'm going to use, and this little scrap piece of paper gives you some ideas of other options if you wanted to do a yellow flower, a slightly more orange flower. I just thought I really wanted a bright, beautiful pink, and so we're going to start with this RV10. So what I'm looking for is where the outside, so remember the picture, it had lighter colors on the outside of the petals, which is kind of unusual, I feel like, for a flower. But I'm going to go and try to decide where the outside of my petals are, where the folds, where they're going to hit that area are, and I'm going to make all of those light colored. So I usually do several in a row just so I can go back and easily fill in. I don't want to add too much color to this outside, so I'm going in with RV13, and I'm just adding a little bit of highlights to some of these areas that I've done, and then I'll go back and color some more. I'm going to keep using this RV13, and I'm going to color the inside parts of the petals. This is my base layer for the inside parts. So my plan is the outside that's light is RV10 with some highlights of RV13, and then my inside petals are going to be RV13 with some highlights and some extra dimension added by RV14. I really think that flowers look awesome with almost like you're making the veining. So I like to do little strokes when I'm adding, and it just gives that extra bit of dimension. So once I've got my solid color down, everything else that I'm doing little tiny strokes. Sometimes in little areas this is hard to do, but it really does add impact if you can make it look like individual strokes. So see how I'm doing here? I'm adding just those little bitty strokes, and I'm even doing this with not just the inside of the petals, but a little bit on the outside of the petals. So I'm going back and just making it obvious that I've made a line there because I want it to look like veining on the petals. I'm going to go over some of these bigger areas right here. So remember, this is RV13. This is my middle shade, and I'm just going to color it in to make it solid. And then I want to show you that veining idea again, just so you can see how it looks on these. So I'm making that even, and then I'm going to switch to RV14, which is my darker color, and bring in the veining. And I'm trying to kind of follow the shape of the petal. I think that makes it even more realistic, and just making little tiny brush strokes that look like veining. I just love how that looks. So now I'm going to go back with my middle color, which is RV13, and I'm going to blend things. So the middle of the flower, I decided the very middle really needs to be darker. So you see I'm just kind of blending out some areas where I've laid down color and it's not as striped, I guess you would say, is what I've been liking. So I'm going back and just adding little details to that. Those, remember the picture that we saw before, these inside petals are usually darker or a different color, so I decided to make mine darker. So the last bit of the flower is this bud up here, and for this I used my medium color, and I'm going to use the darker color. I just feel like buds usually are a little bit darker than their counterparts, and so I'm just making it show up a little bit more with that, and then we'll move on to the green coloring. So my base color is YG13, and I'm not doing anything super special with this, just getting it colored in, and then I'll show you how I did the darker color to give this leaf even more dimension. So I go back in with YG17, and I'm just doing that same general idea of trying to follow the pattern of the leaf to add some veining and dimension. So just little strokes that follow the pattern. And I do this with this color on this huge leaf, and I do it down the stalk and up top on that little area green as well. So now I need to cut out my background. I wanted my background to be black just to kind of coordinate with that beautiful black ink that we used. And I'm using another set of Pinkfresh dies. These are the Slimline diagonal stitched rectangles. So every other one has those little diagonal hash marks in it, and then it has a middle to cut out that's just plain. So I'm going to show you what this looks like on the black paper and then when I cut the image out. And a quick tip for stamping sentiments. So I have already cut out, as you can see with the die, these two never stop. And I put a piece of tape on the back. You could do this with a sticky mat if you wanted to. And now I have lined that stamp up perfectly on this so that I can go and stamp them both. And I have a perfect place that if one of them pops up, I can do that again and peel it off. So you've got lots of options. It really helps line this kind of thing up, so I highly suggest it. So all that I have to do is glue on the Never Stop. Now I did add 2 pieces of cardstock behind this, so that's about 3 cardstock pieces wide or deep, I guess you could say, so it makes it stick up off this paper really well. So I'm going to add those. I am going to use a little adhesive remover, which is this little block. It almost looks like an eraser, but there's a couple places where I barely touch the adhesive or somehow just got something. Whenever you're doing a bright white card, you want to check everything and just make sure it's actually bright white. And then I'm using a couple of scrap pieces of this black that I cut out the background from, and I'm gluing those on the back of my sentiment to make it stand up a little bit. And the sentiment says, "You were born to be awesome." So the whole sentiment is "Never stop, you were born to be awesome." So I'm going to glue this on, and then I will show you some final pictures of the cards. Make sure that if you hadn't done it yet that you hit subscribe to the ScrapbookPal channel. Also, give this video a thumbs up. I hope you learned something and had fun doing this Copic coloring with me. I just think this card turned out so amazing. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.